There are many language learning apps out there, both for teachers and for students. But when it comes to learning vocabulary, you only need one. Anki. It's by far the most powerful app out there, and best of all, it's completely free. Sure, it does take a little bit of setup and learning to get the best out of it, and that's what this video is all about. I'm Will from Enchanted ESL, and I'm going to share with you how I use Anki for incredible vocab teaching. I use the app in many of my classes and even with my own personal learning. The app uses a sophisticated spaced repetition algorithm that tells you when you need to learn individual words over the space of weeks, months, and even years. It's responsible for my students learning hundreds of new words in just a few minutes practice in weekly sessions. And when you combine it with all my acquisition and memorization techniques, there is no better way to teach English vocab. If you're interested in those other techniques, first check out my video on hacking the mind. It's like a big overview of my method. Then you can watch the playlist for all of the other vocab videos I've made and get up to speed. And you'll definitely want to watch the most recent video I made about spaced repetition. It goes over the fundamental concepts behind the Anki app. Plus, it'll show you other ways of using spaced repetition, because Anki isn't for every class. It's designed for individual use, and you can use it with small groups too. So if you do have bigger groups, go watch that spaced repetition video, because in it I explain an organisational tool that gives you very similar results to Anki. Links to all of the videos mentioned are up there and in the description. Alright, now let's get into it. First, some important information about Anki. You can get Anki for free on any Windows PC or Mac by downloading the application or just using it on your browser. However, I recommend downloading the app because it's much more functional and easy to use. There are also apps for iOS and Android. On Android, it's called Anki Droid Flashcards, and it looks like this. On the App Store, you're looking for the one called Anki Mobile Flashcards, the one that's $24.99. But Will, didn't you say it was free? Yes, well, for some strange reason, you have to pay for it to get the app on your iOS device. I'd argue it's well worth the cost to get it on your iPhone or your iPad, but if you don't want to pay that upfront charge, you can just go onto your browser on that device and use it there. I will admit the browser experience isn't quite as good, but it works fine enough. And once you've tried it out and like the app, then maybe you can make the purchase. But if you don't have an iPhone or an iPad, then it is just completely free for you. You can make sure you get the correct version by heading to this website and scrolling down and then clicking on the operating system you're going to use. I really recommend you get a copy of it on your Windows or Mac computer. It's much easier to make flashcards this way, and you can synchronize with your mobile device for use in classes later. So sign up, create yourself an account, and then synchronize all of your devices. It's not super complex to do all this, but if you do want a step-by-step in-depth guide, then I have a free ebook about Anki from start to finish. You can get that by signing up to the Enchanted ESL monthly newsletter. Just go to enchantedesl.com/sign up. Now let's get into making some flashcards. Anki is based on these digital flashcards which are super customizable. They come in decks. I use a separate deck for each of my classes. When we open the app, we have a default deck. We're going to ignore that for now. If we hit Create Deck at the bottom, we can give it a name. For this example, we'll make a deck for an individual student called Fatima. With the deck made, we can create our first flashcard by hitting Add. I'm doing all this on my Windows PC. It'll look a little different on Mac or a mobile device, but the functions are all still there. I strongly recommend you do the following things on your PC or Mac, not on mobile. It's just a lot easier that way. Now a default flashcard template pops up. It has a front and a back. The front would typically be the word in English, and the back would be either the word in the student's native language or an image or something like that. Very basic. We can do much better. Anki lets you customize the templates to have multiple fields and add audio and images and loads of cool stuff. It's pretty technical, so for most people, I wouldn't recommend trying to make your own. Fortunately, I've made this template for you that covers everything you'll need. It's totally free, and you can download it in the description below. It'll come as an APKG file. When you open it, it'll automatically appear in Anki. If it doesn't, then you'll have to import it, which you can do by going to File and then Import and then finding that file, and it should open there. My template comes with a flashcard already made, but you can delete that one later. The main thing is the template itself. So when you hit Add again, the same box pops up, but with different fields. If it's still the same as before, click right here at the top and change it to Enchanted ESL Flashcard. In my template, there are 4 fields which allow you to include images, audio, and text. In the first field, we write the English word. We're going to use unicorn as our example. Next, we need a picture. If you watched my video on elicitation or the one about using images, you'll already have a good picture or be able to find one online. I've got this one of a student holding their toy unicorn. We can drag it in, or we can copy and paste it into the box. The third field is for all our other hooks, like audio, gestures, or emotions. We could write pointed finger on forehead as our gesture, and Team Unicorn to remember a time when the student won a game with unicorns. And we can add a little sparkle sound as an audio hook. You don't have to use all of these hooks, just the ones that make sense. In the last field, you write a definition. I only really do this when it's not clear what the image is representing. This is the case for most abstract concepts. So we don't really need one for unicorn, but we'll put one in just for demonstration purposes. Then we hit add, and we have our first flashcard. Fantastic! And now we can fast forward to the lesson with Fatima. In class, you open the app and click on Fatima's deck. This immediately shows the first flashcard. And it's the unicorn card we made. It just shows the word, the first field. Fatima has to try to explain what that word means. I get my students to describe it in English, or draw a picture, or act it out. Then we click Show Answer, and it reveals the picture, the definition, and the hooks. And here is where the magic happens. At the bottom, we have 4 different buttons. Again, this will look slightly different depending on your device. There's a range of confidence values. On the left is a complete miss. The student didn't know the answer. On the right is easy. The student knew it straight away. Notice the numbers and letters. With easy, we have 4D. That means 4 days. The next time this question will come up is in 4 days' time. Let's click on that. Fatima knew it straight away. Boom, it's done. We move on to the next flashcard. In this case, it's the reverse side of the unicorn flashcard. We just have the image and the definition. Fatima has to say what the word is. This time, she doesn't know it. She can't think of unicorn. So when we reveal the answer, we can click on the furthest left button. It has 1 M next to it. That's 1 minute. The app will ask the question again in a minute, or if there are no more flashcards, straight away. As we only have this flashcard, we get the same question immediately. Now Fatima gets it right, we click easy, and it's gone for 4 days. That's it, that's how it works. Now you need to make lots of flashcards for all the vocabulary you want your students to learn. And don't worry too much about the timings. If you have weekly sessions and the next interval is 4 days, well, you can't do it in 4 days. It'll have to wait for 7. That's fine. Sure, it would be better optimized if you had a session every day, but I find it works pretty well with weekly classes. With kids and teens, you need to go through the flashcards with them and determine their confidence ratings. If you're teaching a small group of 2 to 4, then I give them a shared deck. They take it in turns to answer 3 questions, and if they don't get one, then they can ask a partner. If they ask for help and one of the other students can tell them the correct word, then they won't get the highest confidence rating, but one of the ones in the middle. With adults and mature teenagers, either as individuals or as groups, you can get them to download the app and then you send them the flashcards. This means they can practice it on their own, ideally every day, without having to do it in class. To send them the flashcards you made, hit Decks to go back to the main Decks screen. Then click the settings wheel next to the deck, then Export, uncheck scheduling information, and then you can save the deck somewhere on your computer and share the file with them via email or Google Drive or whatever. Like you did when opening the Enchanted ESL flashcard template file, it'll open automatically in their app and they can start practicing straight away. Now, if you want to send them batches periodically, you'll have to make separate decks for each batch. Otherwise, each time you'll end up sending them all of the previous flashcards too. Let's say we want to send Fatima all the new words from January. We're going to make a new deck called Fatima January and then drag it into the Fatima deck. This will create a sub-deck. You can have loads of these which are all independent from each other, and then you can export them all separately and send them as and when you want. And there you have it, a simple guide to starting out with Anki. But there's plenty more to learn about the app. If you want a more in-depth guide, you can get your hands on that free ebook I was talking about earlier by signing up to my monthly newsletter. You'll also get access to loads of other free stuff, and each month I'll send you even more. So head to enchantedesl.com/sign up to get all of the goodies. But for now, I've been Will from Enchanted ESL wishing you all the joy and success in your teaching. Oh, and go check out that big Hacking the Mind overview video. It's right here.